Today's episode of The Moi Ploy is brought to you by my children. I wasn't quite ready to go home, so I stopped and recorded a podcast in a van.
Welcome into the Moi Ploy Boys Dynasty Podcast, the greatest podcast that you didn't want or ask for. And now introducing your hosts, Jake the Gluten-Free Harris and Peter Cheater Pigoo Hot Sizzle O'Donnell.
What is up, my homies, and welcome into the Moi Ploy. It's your boy, Jake, the Gluten-Free Harris, and I am joined by nobody. All right, so I wanted to share with you some of my wisdom, hard-earned knowledge, because I didn't want this to be an unfair fight. You know, a lot of dynasty leagues collapse because one team, it just becomes so much better than all the others, and everyone's like, why would I just pay to lose? You know, and I like you guys. I like hanging out. I'd hate to see this all fall apart just because I crush everyone's souls. So, that said, I'm going to show you guys a few other resources that you guys can use to up your game when we're heading into NFL free agency. We're heading into the NFL draft, and after that, the Dynasty Rookie Draft. All right, so the first resource that I want to share with you guys is NFL Mock Draft Database.com. This site is the bomb.com. U.S. government is probably listening to this because I said the bomb. Anyways, what is so cool about this website is it's got database or mock drafts from everywhere. People you've never heard of, Blogging the Boys. You know, there's just some random Dallas Cowboy fan making a mock draft. 4for4, M Live, never heard of any of these. But they also have some decently reputable people. NBC Sports Boston, this is they cover the Patriots, but it is an actual news site. This place is covered in ads, but they got to keep the lights on somehow. So you just click View Mock, and it opens up a mock draft. All they show you on mockdraftdatabase.com is the first round. However, if you click this little button right here, it opens up a new window, which I now have to share with you. So I got to stop that screen. Let's see. Don't mind me. And it opens up the website where the actual mock draft is hosted. And if that draft includes multiple rounds, well, then you get those too. Most of them only have the first round. And the ones that have been done after the trades, so the ones that are currently relevant, since the Seattle trade and the Commanders trade, are only one round. So let's take a look at some of these, and we'll talk about how rookie draft capital affects dynasty value. Now, you'll hear people say, and I do agree, that draft capital is everything at the quarterback position. Draft capital is everything at the running back position. Draft capital is not everything at the wide receiver position, however, because, and there's a reason for this, NFL teams value wide receiver differently than dynasty players do. Just look at who the Raiders drafted with their first round pick whenever they took a receiver. They took Henry Ruggs, who's a speedster, didn't have great hands, didn't have great fantasy football seasons. Just kind of was a guy that everyone was like, oh, he might do something, and then he just ended up clogging your bench. And then he ended up driving into two people and killing them while he was drunk. Tragic and truly heartbreaking for the family that lost people. But, it's also heartbreaking for a kid who had a really bright future ahead of him. Totally goofed. Anywho, we're not here to wax poetic. So the NFL teams value speed more than production because speed opens up the middle of the field. It opens up the run game. If you have a receiver who can take the top off a defense, it opens up the underneath routes for guys like Darren Waller. If you have someone who can take the top off, it opens up swing passes for running backs. It opens up a defense if you have to have a safety always worried about getting beat over the top. Now, let's kind of talk about quarterbacks real quick before we get into this draft. Quarterbacks, Dynasty. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of YouTube channels that I really enjoy watching and I think have great content, but also decent rankings, and they kind of show you their process and how they rank these players. Anyone who knows anything on these YouTube channels will tell you the Dynasty community is bad at evaluating quarterbacks. They're really, really bad. So what you really need to do with these quarterbacks is let the NFL evaluate them for you. They're going to tell you with draft capital who is going to be worth the shot and who is not. And the reason is the way that the rookie contracts work. If you are selected in the top 10 as a quarterback in the NFL, you are basically guaranteed a starting job for 4 years. And if you succeed, you're locked in for 5 because they're going to exercise that 5th-year option as well. Now, anytime you can lock a production in for 4 years, minus, if they are behind an incumbent, minus however long that incumbent sticks around for, usually between 0 to 8 weeks usually. Anyways, you can lock in production at that sort of clip for 4 years. It's generally worth a top 5 draft pick in the Dynasty rookie draft. Because quarterbacks we're going to find out as the years progress, kind of everyone has a semi-balanced roster as we're exiting the startup draft. But as people get demoted, players get traded and end up behind other players. Teams draft a quarterback over the guy that you thought you had locked in for the next 2 to 3 years. Like Kirk Cousins could lose his job next year. Eddie probably didn't see that coming. I would project Kirk Cousins is locked in as 2 to 3 more years as a starter, but the NFL has other plans sometimes. So those rookie quarterbacks on the top 10 rookie deals are very valuable. And for the same reason, those rookie running back contracts are just as valuable because draft capital for those rookie running backs, it's not a position that NFL teams want to pay a lot of money for because rookie running backs are a dime a dozen. If they have a decent draft capital and have a decent money guaranteed, because rookie contracts are so much guaranteed money that there's nothing to be gained by cutting a player on their rookie deal because they just kind of end up costing just as much cut as they do staying on the team. So that's why those rookie deal running backs are worth so much, and the draft capital is so important because teams that are paying their guys, several $1 million a year versus a guy who's league minimum, they're going to keep giving the guy who's got several $1 million on his rookie contract those opportunities, for better or for worse. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this NBC Sports Boston mock draft and see where they have players going and how that's going to affect things. We're just going to kind of skip edge rusher, don't care. Offensive tackle, don't care. Edge tackle, da-da-da. All right, wow. They've got Malik Willis going number 6 to the Carolina Panthers. If Malik Willis is drafted in the top 10, there is a strong argument to be made for him as the number 1 draft pick in the Dynasty rookie draft. The reason for that is he's got wheels. Had over 1,000 yards in rushing in college, and I think he ran for over 900 yards both seasons as he was a starter. Malik Willis has got the fantasy hack when it comes to a quarterback position. He is just going to be churning out fantasy points with his legs. And if you can lock that in, like if you could lock in Jalen Hurts' production, Jalen Hurts is not a great NFL quarterback, but he was like a top 3 quarterback in fantasy production last year. Top 5 maybe. If you could lock that in for 4 to 5 years with Malik Willis in the top 10, how could you not do that? That's nuts. You'd be nuts to pass that up. Do I think he'll go to Carolina? I don't know. Carolina's got a lot of other holes. Sam Darnold is owed a lot of money. We'll see. This is all just speculation. Plus, we have to get through free agency. But it's fun to speculate. It's a thought exercise. It helps you kind of understand how to evaluate these players when they get drafted to teams. Like, say, oh, Matt Corral goes to Seattle Seahawks. I don't like Corral. I prefer Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett. Corral's guaranteed a starting job. He could fall. Mitchell Trubisky was not good. And yet, he got to stay as a starter for all 4 years of his rookie contract. Why is that? Guaranteed money, and a lot of it. So if Matt Corral goes to the Seattle Seahawks, he's got some decent wheels on him. He can move. He can sling it. I could see that. However, I don't think Seattle is going to take a quarterback here. I don't know if Pete Carroll, the oldest head coach in the NFL, is down for a rebuild. If you see Corral get taken here, and the Seahawks kind of are tanking for picks and just raffling off players, likely you see Pete Carroll leave, and then who knows what's going to happen. You know, the NFL head coach carousel is real. Anyways, that's way too much speculation. So say Corral goes at 9. He's probably a top 4 dynasty pick. Just again, you're locking in a quarterback with rushing upside for 4 years. Now, I think it's interesting that Drake London is the first wide receiver off the board here. And if he goes to the Commanders, I actually think it's a good landing spot. Oh, but Terry McLaurin's going to take all of his targets. All right, Terry McLaurin, he's just not that dude. He's not that dude. We've seen guys suck or have crappy quarterback play and still produce. Allen Robinson's done it every year of his career until this past year, where I think he either gave up, got old, or Matt Nagy was trying to do some dumbass shit by like not using him so he could tank his value in order to re-sign him again next year. And you know, I wouldn't put that past the budget magician himself. But if Drake London goes here, there's a real chance that he becomes the alpha wide receiver. McLaurin kind of disappears if a decent cornerback is shadowing him, and that's not something that an alpha receiver does. So I think Drake London could be a good pick, and this is not a bad landing spot for him here. Treylon Burks to Cleveland Browns. This, on the surface, is ugly, as Treylon will probably be having to play more cornerback than wide receiver, as he will have to be deflecting and tackling those interceptions thrown by Baker Mayfield. However, Baker's probably out of there next year. Wide receivers are generally a second-year asset anyways. Treylon Burks has no competition in Cleveland for targets. Austin Hooper? No. David Njoku, who they just franchise tagged because they're incompetent? No. 30-year-old Jarvis Landry? No. Donovan Peoples-Jones? No. Treylon Burks would be the dude in Cleveland. And hopefully he gets a better quarterback in the years to come. Going down. Ooh. Chris Olave goes to the Eagles. Ugh. There's no doubt in my mind that the Eagles could use, if they want to bet on Hurts, they got to give him weapons. I don't think a rookie is the way to give him that weapon, as rookie wide receivers generally have a full year ramp-up time. Now, if they want to give him the excuse so they can get rid of him and have an excuse to get rid of him, a Wookiee wide receiver, like a 8-foot-tall wideout would be interesting. A Wookiee. A Wookiee wide receiver is not the best way to ensure that he succeeds. And Olave went over Garrett Wilson here. That's odd to me, as Olave ran a slower 40 and was outproduced and came out as a senior as opposed to Garrett Wilson as a junior. And. Anyways, I think this tanks both Olave and Devonta Smith's value here, as it's going to take targets away from Smith. There's not a big pie to begin with, and the pie tastes like dog shit. Like, so if there's a small pie and it's barely a 60% completion rate on that pie, targets aren't going to be very valuable. However, it bumps him down because I don't think at the end of the 2022 season, Chris Olave is going to be a hot commodity. He'll be coming off a disappointing rookie year. That doesn't mean that he's not a good player or a long-term asset. I don't think him or Devonta Smith are true alphas in the NFL. They don't have the size or profile to become true alphas. Olave more so than Smith, just because Smith weighs less than I do by a good chunk. Pretty sure I could beat him in a wrestling match. Probably not, but maybe. I do have like 30 to 40 pounds on him. And growing. Yeah. All right. So Jameson Williams goes 18 to Alabama. Again, I don't like this landing spot. He'll be the number 3 target his rookie year, behind Michael Thomas, behind Alvin Kamara. And he tore his ACL very late in the college season. Gonna miss training camp. Probably gonna miss the preseason. He's gonna be very, very far behind the learning curve for rookies. I think Jameson Williams would be someone that you would try to buy low mid-season next year, and not someone you're trying to draft with a mid-first round rookie pick. Early second, yeah. A team that doesn't need to win this year, like Ray or myself or Peter, yeah. Jameson Williams makes a lot of sense. So you can afford to just hold them and see what happens. But we see those rookie receivers who miss the first half of the season fall flat on their face, and their value just, totally craps out. Generally, if you don't break 500 yards as a rookie, you're going to have a bad career. There's only been like 5 receivers out of 100 and something, 150 plus, to really have great careers after falling on their face. And when I say great careers, to have decent careers after falling on their face the rookie season. Next one we care about, Kenny Pickett to the Steelers. Oh, that's spicy. Pickett to the Steelers here leapfrogs him ahead of most of these wide receivers with their landing spots. And the reason for that is he's got everything he needs to succeed. He's got decent wheels. Josh Allen ran a 4.7. Kenny Pickett runs a 4.7. I like that a lot. Kenny Pickett to the Steelers here would be a probably top 6 dynasty pick. He doesn't have the guarantee, if he sucks, if he falls on his face, if Kenny, the Burger King baby hands Pickett, can't cut it in the NFL, he'll be out of there in about 2 years, as opposed to the guaranteed 4. That's why he would be behind, even though I like his landing spot and possibly his talent a bit more than Matt Corral when Corral landed in Seattle. Actually, Seattle's a pretty decent landing spot. Regardless, Pickett would be behind Corral, especially if this is the draft capital. Don't care. Edge rushers. Ooh. The Vegas Raiders, the Vaders, pick up Garrett Wilson. If Garrett Wilson falls this far, that will be a crime. If the Vegas Raiders, the Vaders, get Garrett Wilson, that's great. He's got a good quarterback who's locked in long term. He's, I don't know how much longer Carr's locked in. Here's another resource for you guys. If you just Google Derek Carr contract, I believe the first link that comes up is a place called Spot Track. So SPOT, Spot Track, TRAC, no K, spottrack.com is a great place to go to see contract deals. I was wrong. Derek Carr is a free agent at the end of the 2022 season. It's unlikely that they let Carr go unless he really sucks this year, as guys who can produce like Carr does are just hard to come by. Anyways, Carr can produce good wide receivers. He's never had one to throw to, really. He had Amari Cooper for like a few years, and Cooper was like 50 points, 2 points 38 points, 2 points. And after he left there and went to Dallas, he's still kind of that guy where he's boom, bust, boom, bust, boom, bust. It's like Carr to Dak wasn't that huge of a downgrade for the wide receiver production of Amari Cooper. And all the other receivers that they've had kind of go through there haven't been great. And if Derek Carr can make Hunter Renfrow a dude, Garrett Wilson will be the alpha. And it would be definitely worth a shot at Garrett Wilson there. It's not a sexy place to land, but it would be a good one to land as there's not a ton of target competition. Could end up being the number 2 target behind Darren Waller, but as Waller ages and Wilson's definitely profiles as an NFL alpha, stock goes up. Whoa! Desmond Ridder in the first round to the Tennessee Titans. Hot damn, that's spicy. Take a minute to digest this. If the Titans get Ridder, he will be sitting behind Tannehill. For sure. But with that first round draft capital comes a guaranteed opportunity at some point. And we saw Ridder run a 4.5. If Ridder gets drafted ahead of Sam Howell, apparently, if he gets drafted ahead of Sam Howell, Ham Sowell, in the first round, especially in the first round, that basically guarantees him an NFL shot. And if that's the case, with those wheels, you have to kind of value him like you would Jalen Hurts. In that case, he would be worth a mid-first round pick, in my opinion, kind of in that our mid-first round picks end up being late first round, but like kind of in like the 6 to 9 range, mid to late first round. He could be an elite producer for 2 years because he runs. Doesn't have to be good on the actual NFL field. Moving down, Jahan Dotson. If Dotson goes to the Green Bay Packers, I could see that as a plus for him. As Devontae Adams gets older, Aaron Rodgers is locked in long term. Dotson is a bit, he's got a decent height to be an alpha at 5'11". He only weighs like 178, but if he gains a little bit of weight as he gets into the NFL, he could definitely end up being an alpha wide receiver at the next level. And the last one, Sam Howell to the Detroit Lions. If Howell ends up with that bad of draft capital and that unexciting of a landing spot, and Jared Goff owed a ridiculous amount of money this year, it would not be unreasonable to draft Sam Howell in the second round. It will get him, a first-round draft capital will guarantee him 4-year rookie contract, which will get him an opportunity, but it will be a very low job security, short leash type situation, especially because I don't expect that and this is how you got to think about Dynasty, guys. How desperate is the head coach going to be to keep his job? Is he really going to want to transition to Sam Howell and allow him to develop in next year? Like, is that going to be something that he wants to see as Sam Howell, the reins turned over to Sam Howell next year, when he's likely coming off another unbelievably bad season in the third year of his head coaching contract and head probably on the chopping block? Dan Campbell, I like him as a person, but you know, these are the reasons that NFL head coaches make head-scratching decisions, is to not trot out Sam Howell, to go trade for a guy like Carson Wentz and start him over as a Sam Howell, is because they would rather have the proven mediocrity to get a chance at keeping their job, because they have families and jobs pay money. So that's kind of insight into how to value some of these rookies. This doesn't have a second round, so we can stop it here. How to value some of these rookies and how to kind of read the NFL draft and navigate that situation. Now, real quick, I'm going to show you guys a couple of my favorite YouTube channels as far as content and where you guys can get some good ideas outside of myself, of course. Let's go ahead and show you. This one is called RayGQ. RayGQ has got a really fun channel. His is much more of a podcast form than a YouTube channel. I think you could probably catch him on your favorite podcast app. But he's a big Devy guy. Devy is basically fantasy football for college players. Don't ask me how it works. I don't know. He's a big Devy guy, so he's got his finger on the pulse of all of the rookies. He's a great guy to go to for rookie rankings and rookie profiles. Go ahead and go take you to the next one. Here's another. This is in my opinion, this is my favorite channel for breaking down rookie prospects. He has a basically 25 to 30-minute video on most rookie prospects, and he shows you the film. He shows you the breakdown. He tells you how they win, how they win in the college level, how that's going to translate to the NFL, if it won't translate to the NFL. He's got really good profile breakdowns. I don't trust his rankings because he's got Jameson Williams as his #1 receiver. I don't know if that's his #1 prospect or just like he's going to take him as the first receiver off the board in his dynasty drafts. That would be an idiotic move, as Jameson Williams is going to miss such an important part of the season. But it's really good to kind of get an idea of what these guys could potentially be at the next level. All right, other ones that I really like. These guys are new, a very small channel. This is Dynastyland, Fantasyland. Messed me up with his Dynastyland title up here, but Fantasyland Dynasty Football. They're just fun to watch, easy to listen to, short videos that are easy to digest. You know, a 10-minute video, Amari Cooper, a buy or a sell. You can always skip the intros, and it ends up being like an 8-minute video. Where's one? They have like grading dynasty football trades. Those are fun to look at, kind of just show you the value of certain players that you may or may not have on your team. They kind of, watching the episodes like those kind of coach you on how to make trades in Dynasty, how to think about guys in Dynasty. Another one I really like is BDGE, Big Dogs Gotta Eat Media. This guy on the screen right here, Nick Ercolano, is the head honcho here. And he's really kind of taken his channel to the next level. He's really getting up there in subs. Oh, I'm not subscribed. Oops. Sub. He's getting up there in his subs, and his stuff is fun. He's brought in a couple of other guys. Their content is hideous as F. Like, this dude is basically recording in like a slightly upgraded Al-Qaeda cave and never ever looks at the camera. But like Nick himself has got really fun, engaging content. But it's basically, his channel is basically like, hey, what if a bunch of douchebags record decent fantasy football content? If you're into that, you'll love this channel. Another one I like, the Fantasy Stock Exchange. They deal mostly with when to buy, when to sell players. That's kind of their specialty. But they've got other decent content as well. And last but not least, definitely not least, I really like this guy's channel. He comes out with content every single day. So if you are interested in someone who is constantly pumping out content, then this channel would be great for you. This is the Fantasy Flock Network. Fantasy Flock Network, this guy's name is Mason. He is an analytics guy. He doesn't watch tape. RayGQ and Dynasty to Devi really watch tape. He's an analytics guy, and BDGE is also analytics. So it kind of teaches you what are green, like positive signs to look for in prospects coming up. He does a lot. His content is very, very varied. It's very widespread. He doesn't necessarily have a specialty. But yeah, he's got all sorts of stuff. His thumbnail game could use some variation, but I guess if it's working, why change it? Anyways, those are some of my favorite fantasy channels. If you guys are still watching this, thank you. I have fun doing this. I hope you have fun watching it. Anyways, that is everything that I have got for y'all. Yeah, there's really nothing else I want to say here. Take those resources, run with them. One more thing I did want to say. When you go out and you look at these rankings and at these fantasy football content producers, the way these guys make money, and this is important to know, is they're all going to have some sort of crazy hot take. So, for example, Fantasy Flock's hot take is that Cam Akers is a top 6 dynasty running back. That's stupid as shit. You're buying a guy at his absolute ceiling, coming off an injury that no one's ever come back from. Like, if he was uninjured, he'd probably be about dynasty running back 6 if he wasn't coming off a torn Achilles. He's just coming off an ACL. That's an idiotic take by my boy Mason at Fantasy Flock. BDGE says Isaiah Spiller is the running back 9 in their rookie rankings for rookie running backs. That's an idiotic take. That's behind, like, you're going to really rank him behind, like, guys who are never going to profile as potential 3-down running back? Just that's never going to be an operator? Like, no, that's stupid. And if they still have him there after the rankings come out, you're going the wrong way down a one-way street, man. If you're still doing that after the NFL draft and he gets a day 2 draft capital, you need to ignore that take. They're just doing that to get clicks. RayGQ has Isaiah Spiller as his running back 1. I think he just recently changed it after Breece Hall did what he did at the Combine and Kenneth Walker did what he did at the Combine. I think he might be lowering him down to running back 3. But he's doing that to get clicks, y'all. He's got to pay bills. They're trying to do this as their full-time job. They all have a signature hot take that if it works out, they get a ton of subs. And if it doesn't work out, they don't lose anything because all these idiots have hot takes. Anyways, keep that in mind. Put the hot takes to the side when you're listening to these guys, and kind of use multiple resources as a way to value players. Also, the fantasy footballers, I love them. They're bad at dynasty, is what I'm learning. They're just not good at valuing dynasty, especially rookie picks. I think I heard them today that they would trade the 109 for Kareem Hunt. That's stupid. That's really dumb. Anyways, that's all.